Hey friends, welcome to the studio. Today I'll introduce to you your very first overview of Flutter in the studio, which we will later use in upcoming tutorials and courses. In the overview, we will briefly have the introduction, talk of the installation, and the ecosystem of Flutter. The reason for this is to familiarize on how to start interacting with Flutter for those who are new in the framework and give a clear bird's eye view of Flutter before we dive into different concepts that integrate with Flutter. Flutter is an open source framework by Google. What is open source? Open source means the original source code is made freely available and may be redistributed and modified as users or other developers see fit. The only basics that I'll give is that it was created in 2017. It is written in Dart and supports multiple platforms. To gain more history of Flutter, you can dive into the internet to learn more. So the Dart language. The Dart language is known for its high performance because it uses AOT and JIT compilation. Dart has a unique capability to handle both ahead of time AOT and just in time JIT compiling. In AOT, the Dart code can be directly converted into native machine code, and that's a benefit to Flutter. While in the mode of JIT, just in time, it can be compiled for exceptionally fast development cycles and game-changing workflow. This is another advantage for Flutter. So for the benefits, it's natively compiled, meaning it compiles the source code ahead of time to native code. It's open source. It targets multiple platforms from mobile, web, desktop, that is Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and embedded apps with a single code base. And lastly, it's fast thanks to the JIT compilation, which are features of the Dart language. Now let's go get into the installation requirements. You'll need four things. First will be the Flutter SDK, which you can download from docs.flutter.dev for free, depending on the operating system that you're using. Second is the Android Studio that provides Android platform dependencies for creating Android applications. Third is Xcode, which has iOS platform dependencies for you to create iOS applications. And lastly is your preferred editor. In the studio, we'll be using the Visual Code. Now let's get into the ecosystem. In the ecosystem, we'll talk about four things. First is the widgets. The widgets are the building blocks of a Flutter app's user interface. Each widget has a function to play, and it is an immutable description of part of a user interface. For example, Flutter has a text widget. A text widget has a function to hold text or string, and it's when we say that it's immutable, it is an immutable description. It means that it holds what it has been specifically created for. That is, you cannot use a text widget to display an image. We'll get to interact with many widgets as we go along. Second is the packages. Packages, according to Flutter docs, can be explained as shared Dart code contributed by other developers to the Flutter and Dart ecosystem. This allows developers to quickly build an app without having to develop everything from scratch, which helps in time consuming and high performance. There's certain code that you don't need to actually create from scratch. You just need to add a package that already does that into your project and you're good to go. Third is the plugins. A plugin is a wrapper of a native code that adds capabilities to your app, meaning it adds a specific functionality to your app. For example, a camera plugin. And lastly, we have DevTools. But before that, I'll need to introduce Pub. Pub is the package manager for the Dart programming language, and it's what you use to actually add plugins and packages to your project. So let's talk about DevTools. DevTools is a suite of performance and debugging tools for Dart and Flutter, and helps you inspect the UI layout, check your CPU and network profiling, helps you debug memory issues, and also analyze your code and app size before you compile or you build your app in form of a package, for example, an APK or an IPA. To gain more insights on Flutter basics, there are multiple samples and tutorials available, and the best one will be the official website of Flutter, which is flutter.dev. So that's about it to this introduction. I hope you're going to join in and be on your way to be a Flutter champ, and I'll see you guys on the next video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, subscribe to these videos and I'll see you on the next one.